today we are going to do in this pre-budget panel discussion, we are going to talk about what we should expect from this year's budget, what government is planning for different sectors, and how different sectors are looking at the government for certain things, and what kind of rules are they anticipating. So I will just introduce all the guests that we have one by one, and once they are on frame. So we have Dr. Ajay Sahai, Director General and CEO of FIEO. We also have Gagan Kumar, tax expert, and I remember that last time also we talked about a lot of things, and you gave me very precise and precise answers, and sometimes they also reflected in the budget. So we have Gagan Kumar. We also have Akash Jindal, economist, with us, and he is going to talk about what policy changes are we looking at. Then we have Kajal Desai. Kajal Desai is going to talk about what is the startup situation and what should we expect from the government this time, because this government in particular talks a lot about startups. And Arun Vijay, who is the founder of Geotus Exchange. So maybe he will tell us, he will give us insights about how the crypto market is looking at it, because also a lot happened in the crypto market in the last 6-7 months. So I will start with Gagan Kumar. Gagan sir, what do you expect? Like, what is your first brief? What is your understanding? What is going to happen in this year's budget?
Thank you. Thanks a lot, and thanks for remembering my comments from the last budget as well. The way I look at it is that this is going to be a path-breaking budget for two reasons. This is going to be the last complete budget of this term of the government, and as Finance Minister has time and again indicated that this budget may be a blueprint for the next 25 years. So it is more likely to be in the nature of a policy document rather than an annual tweaking of the tax provisions. So having said that,
even last year, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, but even last year they talked a lot about Amrit Kalam and everything, how this is going to change the economic scenario in next 25 years.
Absolutely. And you see, considering that this is going to be effectively last budget of this term of the government, because next year we have elections. So what is the best chance Finance Minister has? It is in this session. And last year, obviously, the COVID effect was still there. So many things could not be done, which are likely to happen this year. And also, there may be a bit of populistic measures as well, because at the end of the day, every government has to win elections also. So I'll restrain my comment at this point in time, only that it is likely to be more of a policy document, but flavored with some populist measures.
So Dr. Ajay Sahai, Gagan believes that it's going to be a very populist budget. A lot of people would be happy after this. What do you think about it?
No, I don't think it will be a populist budget, because except on the tax front where some relief may flow to the medium class, the most of the budget issues will be for the medium to long term for the economy, including exports. And that's why we are focusing into addressing some of the structural issues with the Indian exports. And our foremost demand is to look into the logistics challenges which export sector is facing. And that's why we have a couple of discussions that this is the time where India should come with a Indian shipping line of global repute. Unfortunately, we have Shipping Corporation of India, and that is also being disinvested. And Shipping Corporation of India has just 1% share of the total shipping which India is using. Last year in 2021, we remitted
एग्जॉस्ट बंद कर दो, अगर दिक्कत है दरवाजा खोलो थोड़ा सा.
$1 And that's why from that perspective, we want Indian shipping line to be developed into the country, particularly as we are moving towards self-reliant India. And if the shipping line gets even 25% of the share, in next few years, we will be saving around $30 to $40 billion every year as we move towards the goal of $1 trillion export by 2030. The second issue would be that we should need to provide more support to our MSMEs, particularly on the marketing front, and for that, we would like the budget to provide at least 200% tax deduction on overseas marketing expenditure. and maybe come with a scheme to provide export development fund so that we encourage showcasing of the product by the MSMEs in the country. We know that they are manufacturing some of the best products, but unfortunately that are not being showcased globally. And with such kind of challenges which we have right now in the global economy, MSMEs are little reluctant to go and showcase their product globally. So this is the time where government should come into. And last issue is to look into the liquidity challenge of the sector. And for that, if we can come with some kind of a scheme for reintroduction of the export refinance facility to the bank, or ECLGS which provide for collateral-free lending, if such kinds of schemes can be extended to the Indian export sector, I think that will pave the way for exports in medium to long-term basis.
Yeah, Dr. Sai, what you have just pointed out is very important, because this is the gap between policy and how it is being implemented on the ground. And with we can expect to be a $1 trillion economy only if we bridge the gap. But at this point of time, I would invite Akash for his expert comment on this.
Sorry,
Yeah.
can I
See, just a moment. Allow me to speak, please. Now, I have heard both my friends. Now, firstly, I think with due regards to both my friends, I think this budget is going to be a huge challenge for the government because of the global crisis, because of the global recession. Initially, we had 2.5 years of Corona, followed immediately by a Russia-Ukraine war, and global economy is going through a severe recession. So I don't want to be a party spoiler, but I don't think the government would have that much of fiscal room. So the government would have little fiscal space to distribute goodies to all sectors. Of course, we understand inflation has been high because of Russia-Ukraine crisis. Inflation throughout the year has been high up to October. In October of 2022, the inflation CPI was 6.77%. Unemployment also, because of global recession, because of geopolitical scenario, has been high. December data of unemployment shows 8% unemployment, and particularly urban unemployment more than 10%. So I think the government has to take care of many things. Firstly, the common man is expecting a lot of relief. He has borne the brunt of Corona for 2 years. Now he has faced inflation, unemployment. So the view of my organization, akashjindal.in, is he would be expecting a lot of tax reliefs in the budget. But does the government have that much of fiscal space or fiscal room? I don't think the government would have that much of fiscal space or fiscal room, because we have already seen fiscal deficit being high, because we all know, let's face the reality, exports would be hit because of global recession. Now we had a slight relief from inflation, but China under severe Corona would mean intermediate goods being costlier for Indian manufacturers. So that would also add to our inflation. So I think this is going to be a fine balancing act. This is what I expect from the government, that it would be a great balancing act where there would be a bit of populism. Of course, election angle has to be taken care of. Plus, the common man needs a lot of relief, and he deserves relief because he has gone through 2.5 years, 3 years of Corona and other things. Now, what I expect is, now budget in taxes, what I expect is that in the personal income tax, in the exemption limit, perhaps there could be an escalation of 1 lakh rupees. If we talk about ATC is the section where you have all the investments like NSC, PPF, ULIP. I expect escalation of 50,000 rupees. Standard deduction, I expect an increase of around 25,000 rupees. And one thing which I expect quite a lot is housing finance, because housing has been this government's priority, housing for everybody. So in housing finance, what happens is interest component is more relevant than principal, because interest component is generally much more than principal, because loans are for 16 years, 18 years. So the belief and expectation of my organization, akashjindal.in, is that perhaps the section 24B for interest component exemption of housing finance could be escalated by another 1 lakh rupees. Now, so, one thing which we have not discussed till now, just give me 10 seconds more. Let me list out what are the possibilities. Then we can move on to other questions. Just 10 seconds more. One thing which we have missed out till now is agriculturists. So I think for agriculturists also, because I've been doing a lot of shows on national news channels, what I have made out is from the discussions with other people is perhaps there could be a zero interest or a lesser interest scheme for agriculturists, because we have seen in the past 2-3 years agriculturists complaining on various fronts, including our farmers having heavy debt. So this could be also there. Plus, defense allocation also could increase because of the geopolitical scenario. And the most important, I think, is on education, there could be a lot of outlay, because even during recession, our IT and BPS performed. And education, I think it wouldn't be an outlay. I would call it more of an investment, because if we invest into education, it has a multiplier impact. So these are the prima facie things which I expect. Now you can please move with your question.
Sure. No, I see very guarded optimism there. You are saying that, I'm just summarizing what you said. You are saying that government has to do a very tough balancing act there, and a lot of sectors are in need of some immediate improvement. That I understand. But I also saw Gagan objecting to a certain responses by you. So Gagan, over to you before we move on to Kajal and Arun.
So I just wanted to clarify that I didn't suggest that this is going to be a populist budget. All I said is that this is going to be a policy document. But yes, considering that this is going to be just 1 year prior to the general election, so a tinge of populism may be there. So I just wanted to clarify on that.
Right. So now this is the time when I bring into discussion Kajal and then Arun. Startup, we are talking a lot about startup, and last year, throughout the year, it was all about startup. Everybody was talking about it. We saw so many unicorns and a lot of new developments happening in the field where youth took the center stage. So what do you think is going to, or what should be the ideal scenario that should happen in this budget that could help, that could provide the impetus to the startup ecosystem? Can't hear you, Kyle. Maybe you are on mute. So meanwhile, we will move to Arun, and then we will again come back to Kajal once the sound system is fixed. So Arun, what do you think? Because again, for you, I have a different question, because when last time we talked about budget, you were very hopeful about what is going to happen in Bitcoin, in fact, cryptocurrency scenario. But then in last 5-6 months, a lot has changed there. So what do you think?
See, one other thing is like last 1 year, I think the last budget, right? We were hopeful that government gives some clarity on taxation, right? And we got the clarity, right? Government specified 30% tax on profits, no set off on losses, and 1% TDS, right? This budget, what we expect is some rationalization of that, right? Because a lot of investors are in losses, because this is cyclical, right? Both equity markets and crypto markets. So whenever you are offering returns more than 8%, there is going to be a risk element, right? So people who invest, they should be able to set off the losses. You cannot only put taxes on the profits, because it is not natural, right? And the second thing is the TDS part, right? We want us to be treated at par with the stock market, where the STT is just 0.01%, right? Here, the TDS is 1%. It doesn't affect the retail crowd much, because we are talking about 10%, 20% change day-to-day basis on crypto. But the market makers, right, who provide liquidity to the whole system, they have a lot of capital that gets locked, right? Because of that, the users are getting unfair pricing, right? And they are priced out of the system, right? And ideally, government brought in TDS to ensure they are able to see how many people are trading in crypto and how many are filing tax, right? But the negative effect of this is a lot of people have shifted to international exchanges, which is outside government's regulation, right? So if the TDS becomes rational and government reduces the tax, we can see that the tax collection will actually increase, right? Last 8 months has been very tough for the Indian exchanges, right from July when the TDS hit, right? The overall volumes have reduced by 80%. It's not that people have not been trading, people are still trading, but lot of this activity has moved to international exchanges. So to ensure the crypto is firmly in the control of Indian government, it makes prudent thing to reduce the taxes and give us this, there should not be any regulatory arbitrage, right? So that is all we are asking and requesting.
Right. And it's a very valid point that, again, I see that the term I like to use, very guarded optimism there. Kajal, if we could come back to you, and if your sound system is working properly, then what is your first opinion about it? Before we go into the details of which government department gets how much money. No, you are still not audible. I would request my producer, Arpit, if you could check what's wrong with her voice system. Meanwhile, I will just read out a couple of details, like which are the government departments which are the ministry, what is the ministry-wise allocation of fund, and their defense is on top, then consumer affairs, food and public distribution second, followed by home affairs, road transport, railway, rural development, communications, then chemicals and fertilizers, and agriculture. So this is how we are placed in the budget scenario as of now. So do you guys see any change in this order? Like, defense will of course be there, but do you see that home affairs and health might get more priority? So
I want to speak. I want to speak on that. I want to speak on
please,
that.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. See, it's a wonderful question, and it would allow me to say a lot. I think the sector and the area which is going to get priority this year is the mega event which our country is holding, that is G20 event. Because G20 is a huge event where global leaders would be coming, global CEOs would be coming, and it would be a great platform for us to have a lot of FDI in India and pursue the wonderful theme which our Prime Minister has given us, Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So I think to make FDI more attractive, I think there could be some concessions, some swaps in this budget, because G20 is a huge opportunity for us to have global money in our country. That also particularly when our rivals like China are going through an economic recession. China has just shown 3% GDP growth. Plus, if you see, China is again under a COVID attack. Prior to that, China has seen problems with the banking sector, real estate lending, and bigger economies like or even the biggest economy like US having negative GDP growth for 2 quarters in the last year. This year we are expecting Germany and UK to have negative GDP growth. So if we talk about rivals, like we are the 5th biggest economy. Now by 2027 we are expected to be the 3rd largest economy. That's not what Akash Jindal or Akash are saying. That's what global agencies are saying. Again, 2035, what is being predicted by global agencies is that we'll be a 10 trillion. Perhaps initially we discussed about 1 trillion. The figure is 10 trillion US dollar economy. So I think G20 is going to be a huge opportunity for India. So in this budget, I think there is going to be decent outlay on this, because it's not only an event where we need to showcase us. Apart from the event, we'll be offering some SOPs incentives also to have investors in our country, so that we can have huge manufacturing themes like Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make for World, and particularly when our rivals are going through recession. See, now we are the 5th largest economy now. The first economy, the biggest economy, US, I've already told you the data for 2 quarters last year, they exhibited negative GDP growth. China last year for a particular quarter, they had just 0.4% GDP growth. And for the entire year, they only had 3% GDP growth. Then comes Japan, which anyway has been not growing too fast in the past 3-4 years. If you talk about Germany, I have told you, global experts are expecting them to have negative GDP growth. 6th largest economy is UK. They also are quite close to recession. So I think decent focus.
I get your point.
Yeah.
I get your point. But so basically, you are saying that there are certain areas where India can improve massively. So, but first, I will introduce Kshitij Mahajan, who is financial expert. He is also with. And just to give him a basic idea of what we have talked so far, we have talked about what are the areas where tax expert, where common people, where industry experts are hopeful about, where they can get more tax benefits. And the area where India after working in which areas India can become a $10 trillion economy, as Akash was saying. But that seems like a far-fetched idea as of now to me. But Kshitij, what is your first opinion? What is your first idea about, like, how do you see this year's budget?
Just a moment. Allow me to interject. It's not a far-fetched idea. Global agencies and think tanks have predicted that. If you want, I can show you and send you those reports.
No, it's okay.
So
it's okay.
that is an idea which is realistic.
We trust your data. It's just that now I'm inviting Kshitij for his opening comments.
So, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So first of all, thank you very much, and I'm so happy to see this entire panel who is so positive about India. Akash sir is there, and many other senior guys are there, and I respect what they have to say. All I'm saying is, if I will love to see what they are talking about in 5, 6, 8, 10 years time. And India is very well poised. I travel a lot. I meet a lot of people outside, and I see the positivity with regard to India. Just to tell you, the passport value has gone high for India when you travel abroad, and China plus one is one, which advantage which people keeps on talking about. You have Europe plus one advantage as well. So my expectation from the budget, which is look, try and understand. We are talking all this yarn, which is good, but this is the last budget before they will go for the next election. Which is on the card. So it is going to be a populist budget. This is going to be more a voter-driven budget, wherein they will like to please that. At the same time, there will be a lot of focus on EV. I've been attending many sessions on EV, and let me tell you, there's a lot of it has been given to the ESG part of the budget. And at the same time, our contribution on the manufacturing side is 15% of overall GDP. So services has taken a massive leap, especially fintech and financial technologies, finance and technology.
True that, because I have been looking at some projections and they were like huge numbers.
Yes, but now you will see that because of this, free trade treaty. Now you have Australia, very soon you have USA coming into play. You have the industrial part going big way. So I see soaps coming on the industry side. They really want manufacturing to become big, and there is an element to that. You have 60 crore population which is less than 40 years. You need to create. You can't create that type of job, but you need to create some jobs. You need to make some entrepreneurs. So for that, you need to have industries doing well. So I see that free trade will come with more countries, and it will help our industries to grow. I see that the budget will have more stops for free trade. I see that there is an element of rural development which will come for sure. Agriculture, which was the backbone. Believe me, the contribution of agriculture is less on the GDP side, but today also 62-63% of the population depends on agriculture. So they will have.
And also, it's a very indirect supplier of power. Like we don't recognize it that way, but it gives a lot of strength.
Yes. So I was talking to a couple of companies, and they are listed companies where they are going on 2G basis. Like normally you make ethanol from sugarcane base, but from the seeds, from cow dungs also they are making now ethanol, or maybe they are trying to generate less polluted source of energy. So agriculture, there's a lot of focus will come on agriculture. How we can make the maximum use of it. People say that so as per the data point, we have the largest population now. So this population, vis-a-vis China, which has 3 times the land bank, has to be taken care for their food and other requirements. That will only happen if we can be more productive on our lands. So there will be a lot of focus.
Population is both boon and bane for us.
Yes. So I think agriculture is another part, and government will like to play on their strength, which is a fintech, or let's say which is a IT and technology. Look, technology used to be a vertical in a company, IT division. Now technology is horizontal. It is everywhere. You can't say that it's on IT only, it's everywhere. So that's our strength, which has been showcased by Indian companies. We'll be pressing needle hard on that part also. So I see overall, it is going to be a little difficult task for the finance minister, but she's going to allocate a lot of things over these sectors, at the same time focusing on how they can build the existing strength in a better way. So my sense is that we are very well poised for a populist budget in which manufacturing as well as your IT technology part will be taken care of broadly. So on the individual side, I think that they will have housing insurance as part of a new section, which will be covered in addition to what is happening other claims which one can take on their tax filing side. I'll be more than happy what Akash said, that 50,000 they should increase on the tax part. If they do that, nothing like it. But there'll be a lot of cult which is increasing on the equity investment side. There was a lot of rumors about the capital gain side. I don't see much happening on the capital gain side.
A populist budget is not necessarily a bad budget. That is what you are saying.
Yes.
And so at this point of time, so we have this panel. Kajal is back with us. Kajal, if we can talk
Can
to you.
you hear me now?
Yes.
I can hear you now. Everybody can hear you now. So once you give your opening idea about what do you expect from this year's budget, and then we will again introduce the whole panel to the people who are watching us live. So, but before that, Kajal, it's your turn.
So I will quickly say that, it's a young and aspirational India. I mean, we have all seen in the past how many startups have come up. I feel that there is definitely what I am looking forward from this time's budget is some tax incentives and definitely access of funding opportunities for startups where there are certain government schemes which come up. And I feel there also has to be a focus on manufacturing side. The contribution of manufacturing industries to our GDP is about 14 to 15%. A lot of work can be done there. Clean energy is another area where we can definitely see a lot of progress coming in, and agriculture. I feel tier 2 and tier 3 cities are also looking forward to opportunities, and if this year's budget can make some opportunities for startups with increased government funding and tax benefits and incentives for venture capitalists, then it will be a great help. That's my take.
It's a very balanced take, I must say. And so I would again like to introduce our panel to the audience who are watching us. So I'm Rohit Vats, and you're watching me on Facebook and Twitter pages of DNA. And we have a very esteemed panel of guests. We have Dr. Ajay Sahai, Director General and CEO, FIEO. Then we have tax expert Gagan Kumar. We also have economist Akash Jindal with us. Financial expert Kshitij Mahajan has also joined us. Kajal Desai was just talking about the startup scenario and what they expect from it. And Arjun Vijay is there for to talk on behalf of the cryptocurrency market. And so I'm not surprised that there is a question for the crypto market. It's for you, Arjun. And so the question is that I've been hearing of huge crypto adoption in India. Where are we on crypto regulation, and how would customers benefit with such regulations? So this is the question for you. Once you answer it, then maybe we will move on to other people in the panel.
Sure. So if you see the last 3 years, right, in one side we are trying to attract a lot of companies to set their base out of India, right? We are inviting Apple, Samsung, and all those people, like the China plus one strategy, right? We are trying to improve our manufacturing capabilities and everything. On the other side, if you look at Web3 and crypto, right, we are pushing a lot of Indian entrepreneurs outside India, right? A lot of them are moving to Dubai, Singapore, and all other places, right? So regulation will be really, really useful in multiple levels, right? First and foremost is investor protection, right? If you look at mutual funds and stock markets, they are heavily regulated, right? There is always a pre-SEBI era and post-SEBI era, right? Bombay Stock Exchange has been there from 1800s, right? But if you look at all these recent issues, right, SEBI has been able to handle that, right? Right from Harshad Mehta to Ketan Parekh scam and all those things. With respect to crypto, government is waiting to find a clear answer, right? Till they have 100% answer, they are not coming up with regulations, which I think is not the right thing to do, because this is fast changing, just like internet, right? Even in 1990s or 2000, when we launched the internet bill, we didn't have complete answer, right? But we created a bill, and now we have separate bills for e-commerce, separate bills to regulate Uber, Ola, the gig economy, and all those things, right? So even with crypto, this kind of layered approach is welcome, right? So I would urge the government to actually come to a decision and at least come with preliminary set of protections, right? Give licenses to exchanges, right? We already saw exchanges like Vault in India and FTX globally. shut down with user funds locked, not available to the users, right? And normally, if you look at even equity markets, customers don't directly invest. There's like few percentage invest, but you have products like mutual funds and ETFs, right, which are much more investor friendly. And an average user, he may not be educated enough to find which stock to invest. But when you have products like mutual fund, it makes it easy, right? In India, if you look at our customer base, a lot of people are going towards meme coins, right? Crypto is definitely high risk, right? Investor education can also be part of this regulation, right? This is first part. Second is about clarity on taxation, right? Right now, we have a single brush dealing the whole set of asset classes, from NFTs to blue chip cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin to meme coins, and there are so many rug pulls, so many things are happening. There's decentralized finance, right? There is always this thing called regulatory arbitrage, just like internet, right? So people will set up companies in places where they are tax friendly and regulation friendly, right? So that is what is pushing. So we have this huge company called Matic, which is decacorn, you can say. It's worth billions of dollars, right? It's all by Indian founders, but they set the company outside India, right? We are losing out on a lot of this tax advantage, right? So this kind of clarity would actually ensure that startups stay in India and citizens will be tax abiding, right? Right now, like I already mentioned, right, government came up with TDS and tax, 30% tax, but what it pushed is it pushed people towards international exchanges. Now international exchanges are not following Indian rules, right? We cannot have two sets of laws, right? And users will obviously choose a place where it is cheaper for them to transact, right?
Also where the transaction is slightly easier,
absolutely, right? And it is a matter of survival for a lot of Indian exchanges, right? This is the key thing. Without support, with all this kind of uncertainty, there's so much volatility, and government restrictions also bring much more uncertainty, right? That it's very difficult to do business in India, right? If Web3 becomes future of internet, right, we will end up missing out, right? We already missed out on the global manufacturing wave that happened in the 1960s, 70s, where the Southeast Asian countries took the lead, right? We liberalized in the 90s, where we have been playing the catch-up job. If you open your phone, look at how many apps are created from India, how many are from Silicon Valley, right? Again,
so Arjun, what precisely you are saying is that the government has to be very clear about its policies as far as the crypto market is concerned. So
yes,
now,
because
we are of course running against the time, and it was a very comprehensive answer. So I'm sure our audience has gotten that. And so now, one by one, this is the favorite part that I was waiting for during this discussion. That what do you think is going to be cheaper? What do you think is going to be costlier in this budget? And we would like to start with Dr. Ajay Sahai. So, Dr. Sahai, what do you think? What is going to be costlier, especially the things that we use in daily lives?
No, in fact, let me give you the broad picture. The things which we are importing a lot, other than the raw material intermediates, are likely to be a little more costly, because there are chances that tariff on those products will go up. So most of the finished products may be going little up by imposing some kind of the tariff, by keeping it within the bound rate. That's my general perception. But at the same time, I think the government will look into a roadmap where probably for the PLI scheme, they may be giving little higher allocation, because for most of the industry, it may be first or second year of the PLI, and the PLI utilization the first year has not up to the budgeted mark. So the government will be providing that. And with that objective also, they may be looking into some issues of the inverted duty structure. And when I'm putting the inverted duty structure, let me qualify. For me, inverted duty structure doesn't mean only those cases where the end product is a cheaper tariff and the inputs or intermediate are at a lower tariff. I will also look into those cases where the principal imports are coming from the free trade agreements. Assuming from ASEAN, 90% of the inputs are being imported. So even when MFN rates may be high, I will rather treat them at zero duty and try to provide some kind of support to the industry by further reducing the duty on the inputs. Similarly, where the raw material and the finished product remains at the same level, that also discourages the value addition in the country. And from that perspective, I would like to have a lower duty on the raw material. So my sum up will be that there will be focus on the manufacturing, and for focusing on manufacturing, while on the one end the manufacturing will be supported, at the same time government may be tweaking the tariff to make those products much costlier when they are landing into the country.
Very precise answer that you have given us. I will move the same questions to other panelists, and Gagan Kumar, if you could answer, like, what do you think is going to be costlier, and if there are two, three items that you would like to name, and what can be cheaper? Because I personally want mobile phones to be cheaper, and so what do you think?
I think, Rohit, this question may not be much relevant in the change scenario, because this question used to be relevant when excise duty used to be part of the budget. Now everything has moved into GST, so that lottery which we used to get on 28th of February is no longer relevant, in my view, except for the custom part, which is predominantly related to the import of the goods. However, on a other aspect, the other tweaking which I may anticipate from the budget is one major aspect of employment, and so I don't think that any employment generation would be the focus area of the government, but the self-employment would be the focus area. So to a certain extent, we may expect some tweaking about the startup regime. Also, we have, if we see carefully, there is a lot of push on the cultural tourism. We have seen that how this cruise on River Ganga is being run now. We have seen the Ujjain Mahakaleshwar temple, and we are anticipating completion of Ram temple in January. So I think cultural tourism is going to be another key area which would boost the domestic economy. Also, as far as health is concerned, I think the focus would be more on prevention than on cure. So insurance sector may get a boost, that insurance for all, something like of that sort. But again, as I say, that the proof of pudding lies in its eating, and therefore ease of doing business is largely dependent on how the policy is implemented. So in my view, I would expect some tweaking on the administrative reforms, particularly on the tax side, and decriminalization of the minor offences, because one day delay of TDS should not be a prosecutable offence. So those kinds of things should be there. So as far as I'm disappointing you in not answering which is going to be
No, it's
cheaper,
okay. It's okay. But because you talked about cultural tourism, and in fact you talked about very minor details that we generally overlook, like what happens if you don't file TDS and you are late by one day. So that's a very important point that you have made there. So Kajal, the same question is for you, and then we will move to Kshitij.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I think because the GST rates are in force, so this is really, I would agree to the previous panelist, quite uniform. But what I expect is GST to reduce on financials and food items for sure. Also, somewhere I feel the luxury items are unnecessarily penalized. Tourism is something that I'm looking at to come down. I have these expectations when it comes to the GST.
Also with more aspirational society, such things should be easier to acquire.
Easier to access, because the disposable income is increasing. People are willing to spend. Now, if you are going to impose 18% GST, it is demotivating them instead of motivating people to actually go out and splurge, and in turn contribute to
just allow me to interject. GST can't be a part of budget. GST is a different thing, which is being taken care by GST Council, which has bi-monthly meetings. So why I am interjecting is, so GST announcements, de-escalation of GST tax or enhancement of GST tax can't be a part of budget, because that's the prerogative of GST Council, which has representatives from central government and state governments. Sorry to intervene, it was important, that's why I have intervened.
It's okay. Kshitij, we are now moving on to you. In fact, but before that, I must say that, Kajal, what you said makes a lot of sense, though I'm not very sure that how much difference will that make to more than a huge chunk of the population which is not getting the basics even.
Yeah.
So
Can I make one comment to supplement? Sorry, I'll be very quick. See, the 66% of our population is less than 35 years of age. And it is the youth which drives consumption, and it is the youth which has the aspiration. So therefore, the concept of having luxury goods being penalized, I think this notion must be removed. We are beyond the socialized regime. So just to supplement what Karthik.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
There is another question for Arjun, but before that, the same question goes to, I think people are a lot more interested in cryptocurrency than other things. But Kshitij, what do you think about the scenario that we just talked about?
So I agree with what Kajal said, and Akash sir is totally right that GST Council take decisions. But yes, the budget will give a direction to it. Now try and understand how much money we require as a country to run a country. 42 lakh rupees is what we require. At current rate, where we are having 1.5 lakh of GST on a monthly basis collection, let's take for example, my sense is that this will go, this government is working on unorganized to organized chapter. We will move to, that's what I wish, like that we should move to much more bigger figures. But let's say if we go at 20 lakh crore also this year, that's what I can see that it will happen for sure. So 50% is taken care. So balance, money which you require, it will give a lot of free footing to many of these GST Council members to look at what Kajal and Sir has said, that they should reduce GST on that part, because eventually everything is becoming more organized. We can see that in real estate chapter also happening in Delhi also. So my sense is that the government should look at to support what this aspirational population looking at. Look, I totally agree. This population, you go to malls, you go to lake, go anywhere, you find this young population. So this can be our strength. For many, this looks like that we are the largest populated country. Fine, but we have headcount, we have manpower, we have aspirational population. We have not seen money. 250 rupees per banda to GDP hai hamara dollar ka. So when this 2250 will go to 3000, your discretionary spend will start increasing. Upgrading
with more startups being funded and easier rules for startup, I'm sure this aspirational figure is not very much to ask for.
Yes. So my sense is that we should capitalize on this power, which is our youth, and that can only happen if you make things less taxable. It will make things more accessible. So I think I totally agree, and I see that electronic items for sure will become much cheaper. Which one of our panelists said that he wants mobile to get more cheaper, but I'm saying that will become more cheaper.
That is what I said. They were of the opinion that this should not be the case.
I forgot. And I think there's a lot more things which government can do to become things more accessible to startups. And let's see how things will place out. But I don't see things becoming more costlier, if you ask me. My blood group is B positive. I always remain B positive. So that's how things are.
Thanks for your comment, Kshitij. Before we wrap this up, one more question has come for Arjun, and that is, would there be anything in the budget to at least slightly mainstream crypto, especially in the wake of the RBI coming up with a central bank digital currency, CBDC? So I would request you to answer this question quite quickly so that we could wrap this up as soon as possible.
So I think the answer is no. I think that's the shortest answer. Because tomorrow I think it will be taxation of cryptocurrency.
Very short but not sweet answer.
So tomorrow I think it will be only about taxation of cryptocurrencies, the TDS part, this 30% tax, if there is any changes that's going to be there, right? Anything with respect to crypto is going to be a separate bill that we can expect probably in this session or maybe in the next sessions of the parliament. So I don't think government is going to talk about legality of cryptocurrencies in tomorrow's budget. That is my point of view.
Yeah, very aptly given. So at this point of time, we have used up most of our time. So I
last 10 seconds for me.
Please.
Yeah. Now the finance minister is expected to do a lot of nice things day after tomorrow. But let me compliment you. You have done a very nice thing to me today itself, because you have given me a platform to meet my old friend Kshitij. I mean, I'm so happy that we haven't met for the past 5 years, and on your platform we have met today. So thank you for doing nice things 2 days prior to budget. And apart from many things which my colleagues have said, I think the focus is going to be on crop insurance also for farmers. The crop insurance thing has to be escalated because farmers need to be supported. And apart from that, the value realization of farmers, I expect a scheme which could be helping farmers get MSP, even if they don't get MSP, like Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana in one of the states. So there, I think a lot of help would be there for the farmers. So I think agricultural allocation would be much more higher because agriculturists need that. And again, we know the overall scenario. Plus, as far as inflation is concerned, I think inflation to be a huge issue because we know opposition has been targeting it. So I only expect things to get cheap. I don't expect anything to get costlier, whether it's items for middle class like LEDs, mobile phones, laptops. I think all those things and components also to get economical in this budget wherever the provisions are.
So you have summed it up for myself also. So I will just introduce the panel and then we will take leave. So the people on the panel who joined us today, we have Gagan Kumar, tax expert. We have Akash Jindal, economist. We also have Kshitij Mahajan, who is expert. We have Kajal Desai, who represented the startup ecosystem, and Arjun Vijay, who is the chief of Geotus Exchange. So on that note, thank you everyone for watching us. I am Rohit Vats and you are watching us on DNA. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
Namaskar.